Whether you're choosing the perfect shade to color in your dragon or making sure you're staying within the lines, what was once an activity reserved for school-age children has now become just as popular for adults.
It's very therapeutic. It's a mindless activity, but you're still doing something. You're not just sitting watching television. You are thinking about the colors, but you can also sit there and you can think about what you've done throughout the day without worrying that you're going to screw something up, because it is just coloring. It's something you can do for fun as a hobby, and by the time you're done doing it, your hands might be a little sore if you're just starting out again, but you feel better in the end.
To this day, Jazmyn still remembers the time she laid hands on her first adult coloring book and the surge of excitement she felt when she saw what was inside.
In the 70s, my mother had an adult coloring book, but it was a fantasy adult coloring book, and this thing was huge. It was about 16 by 20. She gave it to me when I was around 4 years old, and as a kid with crayons, I scribbled all over it, but I kept it all the way through my teen and adult years, and I used to stare at this book all the time because I loved it. And for the last probably 15 years, I've always said, I wish someone would do adult coloring books. I wish this would come back.
That's when Jazmyn and fellow artist Ingrid Glaw joined forces to create a one-of-a-kind adult coloring book full of fantasy and mythical creatures.
2 years ago, I visited Jazmyn. I showed her my book of different descriptions of mythological creatures, and we're both into fantasy. So I mentioned that maybe one day we should do an alphabetical book with our own designs.
We really wanted to put together something fantasy-based, something that spoke to both of our talents, and we've been talking about doing a coloring book for a long time, and then when the adult coloring book craze came in, we both thought this is really time for us to put this together.
And I had a book of mythological creatures, so we could look up the different descriptions, and there usually wasn't a picture to go with it, so we go off the descriptions and then imagine our own designs for them.
With over 2 months of work done, Jazmyn and Ingrid's ABCs of Mythology is slowly and surely coming to life.
The vast majority of adult coloring books are still patterns, foliage, sayings. You have swear books, which personally I love, but not something I'll do myself. We wanted something that was a little more geared towards people who like full scenes. We wanted humanoid characters in these, but detailed. So they're not going to be repeating patterns. It is going to be a full separate scene per page.
It's all mythological creatures. I think Jazmyn has 8 of them done, and I've got 5 done so far. So we're about halfway done. We're trying to give it a variety. One thing I noticed is Jazmyn is excellent at doing humanoid, like mermaids, fairies, those types of creatures, and I'm more towards the animals. So they kind of complement each other.
And even with over 50% of the pages now completed, the two artists still have a bit of work ahead of them.
We have to make sure that all of the artwork is around the same size, because once this is all said and done, it needs to go into a printed book. Things can't be stretched, you can't have blank spaces. And all of the artwork gets scanned. I have to take it from that and turn it into a vectorized image, which cleans up the lines. So there's a lot of digital work that goes into a traditional coloring book before you're done.
With that said, the new authors are hoping a Kickstarter campaign will give them the extra boost they need to make their dream a reality.
Word of mouth is going to help us tremendously. So if people are talking about it in the community, then that's, then people are going to be looking for it and keeping an eye out for it. We do have a Facebook page. It is /ABC Myth. So it's easy to find, and we are on Instagram and Twitter and everything too. So we're all over the digital world, but we need to bring this into the real world.